Have college baseball coaches stopped responding to your player? Well, here's what most families do wrong and what you need to do instead. For those that are curious and joining in for the very first time, I played 7 years of professional baseball, 3 years at the D1 level, even competed in a World Baseball Classic, and I've trained alongside MLB talent. And I work with high school baseball players every single day and have helped many families go through basically the whole college recruiting process every single day. And I've seen this exact situation, and it really costs families a lot of opportunities. And you're going to want to stick around to the end because I'm going to explain kind of what this is and how we implement it for all of our students. So mistake number one really is a panic and a panic follow-up, right? And a panic follow-up just screams insecurity. It screams, I'm not good enough, so I'm just going to keep hounding these college coaches. And most families ultimately flood these coaches' inboxes with emails and they go silent. And that's kind of where you guys are probably at right now. You haven't heard much back. And the reality is that desperation pushes coaches away. It's the same way with dating, as you can imagine. In the dating realm, and think back in like high school days, right? The more you want someone and the more you're pushing onto someone, the more that person wants to push you away, not necessarily closer. So multiple follow-ups in a short period of time, it kind of just screams that insecurity. It signals that lack of confidence at the end of the day. And something to keep in mind, like college coaches will recruit players who are in demand, not the ones that are like chasing and, giving this impression of desperation. This whole panic, the whole desperation, it's never going to end well for your player. So mistake number two, assuming it's over and just like giving up and basically sending no more emails moving forward. And families think like this silence means rejection. And ultimately that leads to like stopping all communication on all platforms. And that's obviously not smart. College coaches get busy, guys, so like recruiting cycles will also shift with NCAA regulations, and their priorities will change based off of what position they're ultimately going for. So giving up too early sometimes is just a result of not taking into account a tracking system, something that we implement. So we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to, or really a system to follow back up with those coaches in a strategic manner without hounding them like we did in mistake number one. So the silence isn't necessarily just like rejection at the end of the day, it's just noise, right? And your job in the whole college recruiting process, not necessarily to you, the parent, but really to your son, because your son should be the one reaching out to these college coaches and taking the initiative. This should not be a part-time job for you, by the way. So like your job is to stay visible without being really annoying to these college coaches. Hopefully that makes sense, because let's say that your job, there's new applications for a new hire, and if they hound you every single day, any status on my application, it gets annoying at some point in time. And for those that are curious, if you want to know exactly what to say to these college baseball coaches, you can always apply and click the link down below in the description to learn a little bit more about my triple play system, where we focus on the physical, mental, and recruiting. The next step really for you, if you are serious and if you are looking for those additional resources, would be to schedule out a Zoom call with either myself or a team member today. So getting back into the video, guys, I want to talk about mistake number three, not giving these college coaches a reason. Give them a reason to re-engage. And again, like a lot of my videos that you guys have maybe come across, we want to be that traffic officer when the intersection loses power and all the lights have been turned off. There needs to be someone guiding traffic to maybe a profile or maybe a highlight video, right? Because at the end of the day, like that's what's gonna move the needle for these college coaches, and ultimately that's what we're tracking with these email clicks, right? As you can see, like an email opened and an email click might be confusing to some, but that's exactly what I'm here to break down for you guys right now. So let's kind of go through what it is that I'm showing you right here as far as this merge status, because when we send out one of these emails, what really happens is this is a batch, what we call a batch inside the academy. And when we send out an email, what happens is boom, 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 boom. We're sending out all of these at the same time in literally one click, right? So ideally over here is one click, and it's a one-click system, it really is, and we blast these emails out. And the thing that I think a lot of you guys should understand is we're not doing this with a copy and paste, right? We're not doing Control V and Control P, right? We're not doing that. What we are doing is personalizing all of these emails, all at the same. And you might think like, okay, well, if it's one click, how in the world are we going to copy and paste the same email but personalize them all to the individual coach? Of course, we have a system built around that, guys. So now I want you guys to kind of like understand the definition of some of these, because an email sent, what that basically means, it got delivered Forgive my spelling, but it got delivered, but not opened. By opened, I mean basically when you're on your phone right now, like basically I go to my Gmails or whatever, I can scroll through my inbox. I might see a recruiting email from a specific individual. If I click on that specific email, that is an open, right? So as you can see right here, email opened, that's exactly what happened for that specific individual, right? Now, if we're talking about an email clicked, so what is an email clicked? Again, when there is a traffic officer at that intersection that loses power, we need to guide that traffic to, again, a PG profile or a video. And the way that we want to do this is a hyperlink. And if I'm losing some of you guys on the tech side of things, no problem, because inside the program during that launch period, I'll actually be doing this with your son. Side by side, we actually click send together, so that way there's no confusion on what to actually do. So a hyperlink is basically a word with links within the words. So that way it looks almost as a button, and then this one looks as a button. And basically, let's say a college coach clicks on that button because they're curious on what that perfect game profile might look like, or maybe what your perfect game grade is. That's what an email clicked is. Now, of course, there's the highest tier, which is an email response. And ideally, that email response is the highest tier. That's when they're going to be responding to our emails more or less in a professional manner, right? Like if it's an autoresponder, we'll be able to gauge that out. There are a couple of other ones that were not shown here today, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of go through them. There's one called email bounce, and that one's really, really simple, guys. That's basically, let's just say Evan. And by the way, this is my email address. Feel free to email any questions that you guys have. Mendoza Baseball Academy.com. Let's say instead of .com, you just accidentally put .co on accident, right? Or let's say instead of Evan, you put EVN at, right? And the email just, you asked a very, let's just say you asked a very detailed question inside your email to me, but you put EVN at Mendoza Baseball Academy. What you're going to receive is basically a red block that says email bounced, and that ultimately means it never had the opportunity to get delivered. So when we think about really the grand scheme of things, right? Let's say your son has sent 100 emails, but you haven't tracked a single one of them. So let's say you got like 4 responses. Okay, well, how many clicked on a video or the perfect game profile? How many opened? How many sent? Ideally, sent would be a combination of 100, but really it would be a combination of the responses, the clicks, and the opened. Excluding that amount would be the number of sent. But I would say probably the most important one, because this is where in the recruiting black hole, it can feel like that, because emails will get lost into the void, or at least that's what it feels like. So how many of them truly bounced, right? How many? And of course, I love using extreme or radical extremes to be able to kind of prove a point. What if 96 of your 100 emails bounced and you got 4 responses? What if that's the case? We don't know that because, again, we're not tracking any of these numbers that get us to how many really bounced. Ideally, if we're doing things the proper way, out of 100 emails, 3 should be bouncing if we're doing it the right way and if we're tracking it. But think about like the psychology. Let's say 96, just to give you a little bit of easier numbers. Let's say 96 have bounced. And your son has sent 100 emails and he gets those 4 responses over here. He might think like these 96 schools just are not simply interested. And again, these 96 have bounced. They never even had the opportunity to open the email because they bounced. He wrote in the email address the wrong way, or maybe you wrote the email in the wrong way. Not gonna say that it's gonna happen 96 times, but to get that point, let's say like just about all of these bounced. These college coaches never even had an opportunity to evaluate your son through a quick little highlight video or through a perfect game profile. So if we're not tracking these metrics, very, very difficult to understand how our emails are actually performing at the end of the day. So that's a little bit of like a bonus. One thing I do want to give you guys actually as a bonus are my 7 steps on how to reach out to college coaches the right way. That's going to be found down below in the description. That is a great, very thorough course on how to reach out to college coaches the right way. You can always go grab that down below in the description. But guys, it's very, very important to use my email template inside, because I do give my email template away for free. I give a lot of this stuff away for free, guys. I give away my list of schools template. The only thing I don't give is like the automated side of things, because obviously that implementation is more important than anything to make sure that you're presenting your son or you in the most professional way possible. Think of it as like a job interview, because college recruiting is getting that much more competitive nowadays. So now if you guys are interested in learning the next steps on how to build out that follow-up system, how to initiate these college coaches conversations through email for the very first time, click the link down below in the description to book your eligibility review, so that way we can show you guys a demo of how this program really works inside the Triple Play program. The program I was referring to is the College Commitment Blueprint. It's really just one piece of the Triple Play. The mental side obviously is really focusing on increasing that baseball IQ. We can't forget about the overall player development, and especially in the gym with baseball specific workout programs. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, click the link down below in the description to book a call with either myself or a team member today.